Today, I stand here to shed light on a grave matter, the opioid epidemic, and at its center, Purdue Pharma. In this speech, I will explain how Purdue Pharma used aggressive advertising and manipulation tactics to sell the world on Oxycontin. Now, I myself have had friends who have struggled with drug abuse, all starting from pain medicines that they were prescribed from doctors. And this, along with my obsession for marketing and advertising, led me to the story of Purdue Pharma and Oxycontin. So today, I'll be going over the family that spearheaded the opioid epidemic, along with many of their aggressive marketing tactics and their uses of manipulation that persuaded doctors to prescribe Oxycontin. First, we need to know about the masterminds behind Purdue Pharma and Oxycontin, the Sackler family. The Sackler family was a high-class New York City family with the patriarch Arthur Sackler, who years earlier made millions of dollars in pharmaceutical advertising, not manufacturing, just advertising, and ended up buying a small pharmaceutical manufacturing firm called Purdue Frederick. Now, Purdue Frederick was later changed to Purdue Pharma. Unfortunately, Purdue Pharma was not making money selling its usual tranquilizers and laxatives. So, people like Richard Sackler and Kathleen Sackler looked towards other medicines and processes that they could take, which brought them to opioids. See, they used an opioid called MS-Cotton to give to terminally ill patients to ease quality of life. And MS-Cotton did not face any backlash because it was advertised for exactly that. It was advertised to ease life at the end, to make it easier. And people who are about to die have much less of a chance of getting addicted for the rest of their lives to opioids. But MS-Cotton led to the new wonder drug, Oxycontin. Now, Oxycontin was not a wonder drug. Oxycontin was a Schedule II narcotic whose sole ingredient, oxycodone, was a chemical cousin to heroin and twice as strong as morphine. But Richard Sackler saw the potential that this drug could bring and worked tirelessly to make it profitable. See, Oxycontin was made to cure pain and improve quality of life for moderate to severe injuries. But it was truly made to make profits, which led to many, many unethical and expensive advertising campaigns to push Oxycodone, or Oxycontin. See, Purdue Pharma used these resources and these unethical methods to persuade doctors to write more prescriptions by any means necessary, from using sales representatives to push ideologies, and they had uncapped salary incentives and 5-star symposiums that were all inclusive for these doctors to attend, and millions of dollars being paid to pain organizations and pain doctors like Russell Portnoy, who claimed that opioids were safe. And these symposiums are where doctors started hearing about opiophobia. Opiophobia was a term used to convince doctors that their fear of prescribing opioids was very irrational. And the FDA even approved Oxycontin and an Oxycontin label, and the label on it, which claimed Oxycontin was less addictive and safer than rival pain medicines. So that became a very, very prominent selling point for these pharmaceutical representatives, who all started telling every doctor how safe it was, and the FDA approved it, blah, blah, blah. And these doctors ended up writing far more prescriptions, which is where the opioid epidemic truly started. See, Purdue Pharma even admitted that they sold their dangerous drug to healthcare providers, even though they had reason to believe those providers were diverting the drugs to abusers. And I know you must be asking, well, then how did the FDA approve this drug? How did the FDA approve this label? Well, that brings me to my next topic, manipulation, the largest of which, the FDA approval process. See, in 1995, the FDA approved Oxy for moderate to severe pain, which is strange because Purdue had done 0 clinical trials into how addictive or prone to abuse the drug might be. This, along with a label claiming it's safer than rival painkillers, is strange because how would they even know how safe it is if there were 0 trials done? Now, this was brought up to David Kessler, the head of the FDA at the time of the approval, and he claimed to have nothing to do with the process. This was done by medical examiner Dr. Curtis Wright. Dr. Curtis Wright, shortly after approving the drug and the label, left the FDA, and just 2 years later began working at a high-end job in a pharmaceutical manufacturing company called Purdue Pharma. The manipulation didn't stop there. They also manipulated every doctor and every patient with the idea that they were curing their pain with no risk of addiction. Purdue told their pharmaceutical representatives to assure doctors with no evidence that less than 1% of addiction was possible, which is a bold-faced lie. In 1999, Purdue funded a study, and they found that patients who took OxyContin for headaches had an addiction rate of 13%. And pharmaceutical representatives also sold the slow-release coating that prevented addiction and claimed that only people with an addictive personality could get addicted. See, the coating was very, very easy to bypass, and the user could just read the warning label that said this: taking broken, crushed, or chewed OxyContin tablets could lead to the rapid release and absorption of a potentially toxic dose. This caused more and more abuse and more prescriptions and more profits for Purdue Pharma. Even after they got caught, they were still walking away with billions of dollars, and that's after pleading guilty, that's after paying billions in fines, and that's after filing for bankruptcy. They were allowed to keep the billions because they slowly withdrew it out before the bankruptcy was officially finalized. In all of this, they were able to make all this money despite starting the opioid crisis in America. Because now, some 20 years after the FDA approved this drug, 450,000 lives have been directly lost because of opioids, and countless other lives have been negatively affected. So today, I talked about the Sacklers. I talked about how they used opioids and advertised it as a pain cure, and also how they manipulated an entire country and started an opioid epidemic. They used their name and resources to acquire pharmaceutical companies, manipulate the FDA into approving a Schedule II narcotic for moderate use, and sell the drug to make billions. The Sacklers and Purdue Pharma have affected every single American in the country, and we all know somebody who has been affected by opioids, whether they take them themselves or they know somebody who does. And all of that began with the lies and manipulations that paved the way for OxyContin and the addiction it brings. Thank you.